All right, guys, we got Neil Kristianson here, and he's actually from Email Splat. He helps people scale through marketing automation like an elevator instead of hanging on a cliff. Found out after doing everything he wasn't supposed to do that he was destined for entrepreneurship. Go figure, right? He basically developed the hidden profits method inside businesses that help actually yield sold out crowds and elevated incomes. Neil, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Daryl.
Absolutely, man. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in helping people in the marketing space. I know we were just sharing some stories about some jarhead Marine you were working with and how you squared him away. So if you can square away a jarhead Marine like myself or him, you're doing pretty good for yourself.
Yeah, somehow I end up being like the silent partner of jarhead Marines. You know, they run around and do all that they do, and then I'm in the background following and cleaning up. Yeah,
we
helping them organize.
We definitely need Marines definitely need direction sometimes. You know, when you give us direction, you're like, attack that.
Oh,
We can
that's
do that
true.
really good.
I gotta remember that. Just tell them what to do. See,
Yep.
I feel a little intimidated as the non-Marine telling a Marine what to do, but you're right. They probably respond really well to that. So I got to remember that.
Yeah, we love it when people like, you know, you got to obviously make sure you know what you're talking about too, because we don't want to destroy the wrong thing. Because the difference between like Marines and SEALs, to give you an example, is if you give Marines like an order to go get something, they'll come back and there's nothing left. The building's blown up and everything's done. The SEALs, you don't even know they were there.
Right.
That's how you know if a Marine hit the target or a SEAL hit the target. That's the difference between the two.
That's good. That's good.
You can't find the target if the Marines went, and the SEALs, it doesn't look like they were there, but they accomplished the same mission. So go figure, right?
Yeah.
So Dale, tell us a little bit about how you got started in business and where did you figure out that all of a sudden you're going to be an entrepreneur? Because I know that, you know, we all have our bumps and bruises along the way.
Well, how far back you want to go? Because we can go back all the way to like 5 years old, 3 years old.
What's the earliest memory you have around being an entrepreneur? I know mine when I was like 7. So.
Yeah, my earliest one, younger than that. I got pictures of myself with my first hot dog stand when I was 3, 4, something like that. I can remember my first, and then I don't know that it was so much being wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I just wanted to make money. I was always obsessed with I wanted to work. So at the age of 14, I was calling McDonald's to see if I could get a job. I'm like, no, we can't hire you till you're 16. And I was so disappointed that I couldn't get a job. I just wanted to work. Because my dad has this, comes from the farming background, you know, the work ethic with farmers.
Absolutely.
So it was kind of, you know, that's what I grew up on. My dad was self-employed and I worked with him a lot. And I remember my first gig was hauling dirt out of a basement at a penny a bucket. And I was barely big enough to pick up the bucket. I was probably 2, maybe 3.
2. Wow.
2 or 3. Forced child labor. Yeah.
For a penny a bucket. Mine was penny a weed. So.
A penny a weed. Okay. Yeah. Grandma would give me a penny a stick to pick up the sticks out of her yard.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first one. I was working with my dad carrying buckets. That's the first thing I remember where I made money. And then I got a paper route and I had the hot dog stand and I mowed lawns and anything I could do to make money. And I got my first real job when I was 15 because I worked for a church and they could legally hire you if you were under 16.
Got it.
So that was my first actual paid, get a paycheck job. And, so it was all around that. And so I had a couple businesses, you know, just to make money was my thought. I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And then after I got out of college and I had a job that I did not like, my brother came to me and said, "Hey, you want to start a business?" Mm-hmm. I'm like, "Well, yeah," because I don't like working for other people.
Where were you working at the point where, and how old were you roughly that all of a sudden it's like your brother came up to you?
I was working in a lumberyard. And I'd been there about 8 years through a couple different jobs. I was customer service. I was inside sales. I was in a couple different management supervisory positions. Most of my time I was a buyer there, which I really liked. But I maxed out the advancement in that department. Mm-hmm. So a new position came up to be
you couldn't make any more money is what you're saying.
Right. As a buyer. Yeah, without my boss leaving, and he was going to get taken out of there in a casket. So
sure,
he worked there forever. So there was no way I was getting to be the head buyer. I just was going to, I was pretty much maxed out. So they gave me a chance to be a manager. of a whole lumberyard. And I took that and I just hated it. I did not like it.
Why'd you hate it so much?
Well, part of it was that I got, I ended up with about 3 jobs still for the price of one. So they had me still buying. They gave me the management. And there was something else thrown in there that I'm like, they remodeled the yard at the same time, the building. So I got put in charge of being the project manager for the build out.
They paid you 3 times as much though, didn't they?
No, they paid me the same crappy wage. Said it was lateral, but it had advancement opportunities. Yeah. So just the stress of all that. And then my boss was not somebody who, he was very much a control freak. You know, he wanted to know every little thing you did and then second guess every decision you make. So I had all this authority without power. Is that how you would say that? You know, I was put in charge, but I had no power because my boss was behind the scenes doing everything. And so I hated it. I just hated it. And so my brother came to me and said, let's start. He didn't like his job either. He said, let's start a business.
Yeah.
And so at that time I was like 32. I think I was 32 and he was 28. And my brother's an architect and we've always been around construction ever since our dad had been a flipper before there was that term. He bought and sold houses back when we were kids. So we'd been exposed to it then. We'd done a lot of things in high school and college as kind of side job, you know, working with our hands. We owned all the tools. We had trucks, you know, and we said, well, let's be remodelers. So we started a remodeling company.
When, how old were you then roughly? And when was it?
I was 30, I think 32. It was in 2000.
Okay. Right before the big real estate boom happened.
Yeah, exactly. So we started this remodeling company and, that's how I really got exposed to like small business and marketing and all those kind of things. In school, they teach you that, but they don't teach you the real world. When you own a business and you got to make money, suddenly you experience the real world and what really works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's when I first really got into marketing. And then things went pretty well until that 2008 when the bottom fell out and our business dropped literally in half overnight. We lost 3 big jobs within 1 week.
Okay.
And, you know, people that had signed contracts called and canceled, wanted refunds, you know, it just went like overnight, the lights went out.
Yeah.
And we literally dropped in half. Our sales went from 1.8 million to about 850,000 just overnight. And
you guys still had the same bills to pay, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We had more bills to pay because we took on some big things right before the bottom fell out, thinking, you know, hey, it's a great time to really double down and invest in this company. And we took on a lot of debt right before.
In like 2007?
2007, yep.
That was probably the time that I started getting in real estate myself. And I saw the writing on the wall pretty quick, and that lasted about a year and a half.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
time to everybody across the board.
We decided to go big right at the wrong time. So we had to lay off all our employees. It went back to just me and my brother and an office manager. We managed to keep her, but everybody else had to go. And we went back to the beginning again, you know, put tool belts back on, back doing it all ourselves, not subbing anything out because we were just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And that was 08, 09. And then slowly it started to rise again, but it was very different because like you said, the golden age, if I could have 2004, 5 and 6 back, oh my God, I'd be retired.
Yeah.
If I knew knew then what I know now, I would have approached it totally different. Because back then,
so let me ask you a question now. What at that point, if it was 2005, 2006, you're getting ready to make that decision and big investment, you know, into your business, into your future, and we all know what happened. But if you went back to yourself right now and sat across from yourself in a coffee shop and had that conversation, what would you actually been able to say to break through that person who is so hell-bent, determined that that's what they were going to do? What would you actually have listened to at that point in time?
Yeah, that's a good question because I didn't listen to anybody at that time because there was lots of people saying this is a bad idea. And we said, oh, no, we're smarter than everybody else. This is a great idea. And convinced ourselves to do it. I don't know. I don't know what I could have said at that moment. Yeah, I think I just didn't look at the downside potential. I only looked at the upside potential.
Okay.
It didn't really take a realistic look at what could go wrong. You know, I kind of went, yeah, it could go wrong, but I didn't stand back and say, what if we can, you know, what if all the business goes away and we can't pay these bills? You know, then what's going to happen? I didn't look at all the downside, because like 4, 5, and 6, those were the glory years, right? It was just going to go on forever.
Yeah.
And I was just brainwashed into thinking this is just going to last forever. And I didn't look at the downside like I should have. And yeah, I guess that's all I could have done if I could go back, is just lay out the numbers. Okay, here's the potential downside. And we hit probably worse than anything I ever would have imagined if I had looked at the downside. It was worse than any of those predictions probably would have been.
How bad did it get? I mean, the point where you're looking at bankruptcy, or I mean, like where?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we considered all those options. I mean, there was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of just waking up at 3 a.m. with your stomach on fire, rolling. Just how am I gonna tell my wife that not only am I not bringing home a paycheck this week, but we're gonna get served this week. You know, I didn't tell her I was getting served until about 5 minutes before the processor hit my front door, because my brother called me and said he just left my house.
Coming to your house.
Oh, shit, he's coming to my house. Sorry, can I?
Yeah, no.
We can let fly on this one? Okay, yeah. So then I had to go to her and say, hey, honey, doorbell's going to ring and a dude's going to hand me papers because I'm getting sued. I mean, that was kind of the low. I don't know. There were many low points, but that was definitely one of the worst. Mm-hmm. It was finally, you're getting sued.
So when the guy was walking out the walk and you're sitting there getting the papers and you had to tell your wife about that, like what was racing through your mind at that point?
Oh, I don't know. Because up to that point, it had just been, how am I going to, I'm kind of like this slippery lizard chameleon. Like mm-hmm. I can get myself into the worst situations and somehow I always manage to get out.
Okay.
I don't know how that happens, but it does. So I can get myself into these things and I just always think I'm going to get out. I'm going to get out. I don't know how, but I'm going to get out. And at that point, I knew I wasn't getting out. Here it is. It's over. What am I doing now? And eventually we did kind of get out of it, but it was very painful. And it was a very long process. And yeah, it was ugly. But I didn't want to tell her. I waited until the absolute last minute to tell her that. I mean, she kind of knew that things were bad, but I don't think she knew how bad things were, because I managed to still bring home money somehow. And that money might not have hit the bank until an hour before I was supposed to cut the check, but somehow I managed to we always managed to find some money to bring home. But it was not easy, very stressful.
Did you ever think about going back to corporate America side of things and working at the good old lumber yard? Or
No, I didn't. I never. Well, when I think about going back to that stomach thing I was talking about, my stomach starts doing flips as soon as I think about getting a quote job.
Yeah.
Because there's been points in my life where I got to go back to work. We need money. And, oh no, I'll do anything but having to go back to a real job. Many times in my business, I get people that approach me and say, we need some help. We need somebody to be on our team. And that just churns my stomach because I don't want to be part of your team. I'm my own business, my own person, and I don't want to be part of that whole corporate America, kissing the boss crap again. I had enough of that in the 15 years I did it. I don't want to ever go back to that again. So there was times we talked about go get a job, but I didn't for a couple reasons. First of all, because it makes my stomach churn, but secondly, because I knew that if I took a job, I was capped at whatever that job was. If I kept my business, I have unlimited potential, right? It could turn around. We could find a job. We were doing high-end remodeling, so I literally did jobs that were $750,000 for a residential home. So if we could land even a $200,000 job, $150,000 job, I was going to make more money doing that than I was going to make being the assistant manager at Home Depot or whatever it would be. So I knew I just had to find that one, and we could keep going.
Just keep going. Have that belief in yourself. As guys, that's a gold nugget right here. The belief in yourself that he was going to make it.
Yeah. Well, in my case, it's the Swedish background. We're just dang stubborn. we just can't die. We just can't say uncle, we're just going to keep going. I was just too stubborn to quit, I think, is more than anything. I don't like to lose. I don't like to admit defeat. So like that, having that conversation with my wife, in my mind, I'm losing. I just have to admit I just lost, and I hate losing. Absolutely hate losing. So I'm going to do anything I can to avoid that.
It's called commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a big word. It's a big boy word. So
yeah.
It's staying committed to something and holding on to that thing, even when, everything's firing back at you. Like every ounce of your body's maybe telling you run the other direction, but you stay committed to what you're doing. It reminded me of a Marine that actually served with me, and he used to talk about it as like, when the firefight happens, just getting right into it. And that's what he would do. He would get right into it, and he was one of the leaders in the platoon as a Lance Corporal, which was a junior Marine, and but he had leadership skills that were way above his pay grade, and he eventually did walk into fire and did not make it out of it. But he had that commitment that he was actually going to, kick in the door and take the guy out. So even in the face of fear. So what was the big thing that was a turnaround point for you? And you're like, wow, help finally arrived, and I'm going to get out of this hole.
Well, there was no one golden moment, no one aha moment. It was a lot of series of little things. Mostly it was that we learned to sell and market. That's the easy answer, and that was a long process. It wasn't just.
You just didn't flip on the lights and the money didn't come out of your
wasn't
computer?
Overnight. No,
there's a slot in your computer where the money just comes out the side.
Yeah, I have one. Why don't you have one? I've got this money button right here. I just hit that. Money comes out of the front of my machine. No,
it's not counterfeit, right?
Yeah. I wish it was that simple. It was a long drudge. It was a long fight, but just
what were some of the lessons you had to learn along the way before you finally figured it out?
Well, I think what I learned most was back in 2004, 5, and 6. We thought we were really good salespeople. We thought we were awesome. Yeah. What I learned in 8, 9, and 10 was that we were not salespeople. We were order takers. And that's why I wish I could have those years back, because, I realize now that in 4, 5, and 6, if you just showed up, spoke English, and had, didn't have holes in your shirt, it was your job to lose, and you could charge whatever you wanted, and they would take it. At the time, I was afraid to charge anything because we thought, we're going to lose all these jobs. And now looking back, man, I could have done so much better. But we did in 8, 9, and 10, we started to really learn how to sell and how to really market the business, because, when the economy went, all these builders went out of business in the area. We had guys building 400 homes a year, 4,000 homes a year, and they just shut down overnight, which means suddenly there's thousands of carpenters out on the street without a job. And they all became my competition. They all just hung up a sign and said, I'm now a remodeler, and I'll do, the same thing these guys are doing. And so we literally had people that were calling up to 10 companies before they hired somebody. And in the old days, they wouldn't have got 10 people to answer the phone, let alone come out and do a dog and pony show for them.
Yeah.
And now we were fighting for every job. So we had to learn how to market ourselves better, so we stood out from all those people. And we had to learn how to weed out the buyers from the liars and the tire kickers, and actually learn how to sell. So we invested a lot in a lot of different training over those years to get better at those things little by little, and start to eventually we put into place a marketing and sales system that we were able to make work for us in our business. And so that gets all the way back to that first question you answered me, is how I got into this. Well, it's because I really liked creating that whole system, and I was pretty good at it, and I like that. And so now, I help other people with that. But that's how I got to really learn it. I learned it under fire.
Under fire.
Under fire.
Neil Kristianson.
Yeah, I learned it the hard way, doing everything I shouldn't have done.
You faced the fear and the big thing in your belly.
Yeah.
And you weren't you keep the wolf away from the door.
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah. The wolf was there many times. Yeah.
Yeah. You got him. You came out on top. So now, to the point that I know that's what you do, you help people to elevate their businesses. You've taken your jarhead Marine buddy, and he went from 0 to 30,000 in a month on his email list that was just sitting there. It was just money that was sitting in his computer that you just had to push a button literally, and it came out.
Well, yeah, it wasn't quite that simple, but yes, we just had to get some things in place, and suddenly people were raising their hands saying, I want to work with you. I want to buy something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us what are some of the things you did for the Marine?
So for that, we just, we put in place a series of autoresponders.
Okay. So somebody who doesn't know what an autoresponder is, that's a jarhead Marine like myself.
Yeah.
How would you communicate that over to us?
An autoresponder. So that is so if you ever have gone online and you've entered your email in somewhere and said, get this free report or get more information, you entered your email and then instantly you got an email from that person. That's an autoresponder. It's just it's a way to automatically send out an email. There's not somebody on the other end typing out Daryl and hitting send. It's a machine somewhere that's somebody's.
You haven't been personally sending me those emails that you're telling me?
I have not. No.
Oh my God.
There's little email fairies out there that are
all those emails I've been getting from all these people that have my name addressed to me. You mean they don't personally type that?
No, they don't. No, I'm sorry to tell you. Sorry to break that illusion. But yeah, that's an autoresponder. So, and then a series, we have a series of emails that go out over time that lead somebody to buy something. Oh. And so what we did specifically in his case was I rewrote that whole welcome email series he had on his website. So he had something you could go and download and you would get some emails. But we just rewrote that series and changed the timing of the whole thing. And that was able to instantly weed out the people who were actually going to be buyers. It caused them to raise their hand instantly and call them or email them and say, hey, what do we need to do to work together?
Okay. So you went to his website and there was something on there he was offering that I could download. So it was a free report of some sort.
Exactly.
And then you guys went in there and there's an email that I would receive. And then you reworked the emails that actually went out to the people, which actually sold the product itself. They would click on a link in the email and they go back to the website and they would buy something. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, yeah, pretty close. He's a business coach.
Okay.
So we got them to get on phone calls with him.
Ah, okay.
And he's a good salesman. So once he can get him on the phone, he can sell them. But the problem was he wasn't getting anybody on the phone. So what we were able to do was it was over a series of, I think we did 5 emails over 7 days. So when you downloaded the thing over the first 7 days, you'd get 5 emails.
Okay.
All told his story and told what he could do to help them. And then, what do they need to do next to work with him? Here's what you need to do. And, then we got people responding.
Mm-hmm. And he already had a website. He already had people that were already opted in onto his email and requested his free gift. You just basically helped him pull out the hidden profits inside of his business.
Yeah, we just helped him turn on the machine. I mean, he had it there. It was all there. All the pieces were kind of there. I mean, what I find with a lot of businesses is they have all these great assets. They have a lot of pieces to the puzzle. They've just never really systematized it to put it together to get somebody going in a straight line towards the goal. Especially when it comes to email, right? When we have email autoresponders, people usually create those very haphazardly. Like they say, I'm going to do a PDF or a free guide, like you just said, a free report. I'm going to put a free report on my website. So they start with, what's my free report going to be? Oh, well, I got this thing. I'll put that up there. And they write a little PDF and they put it up there and they say, put in your email address to get this. And then they say, well, I got people signing up. I guess I need to send them emails. So now what do I do? So, okay, I'll just write an email. And then they say, well, I should probably have more than one email. I'm going to write another one. and they just kind of go backwards in my mind. That's kind of a backwards way to do it, because you're sending everything just kind of haphazard. You haven't put a plan together. You haven't put a goal together.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is start at the end. Where do we want them to go? Where do we want your customer to end up at? What's the goal for this email series? Every email needs a goal, and every series needs a goal. So what's the goal when they get to the end of the series of emails? Well, in Tom's case, we want to get him on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know if they get on the phone with Tom, he's a pretty good salesman. He's selling a great product. They're probably going to buy if we can get him on the phone. Odds are good. So how do we get him on the phone? And then we work backwards. So, well, obviously the last email needs to say, fill out this form and I'll call you, or here's my email, or here's my phone number or something. And then, so what do they need to know right before that? And then what do they need to know right before that and right before that? And we work our way back to what is the PDF we're going to offer up on the website. Instead of going from the PDF to the sale, we go from the sale to the PDF and work backwards.
Ah, that's true. That's awesome. So basically, by working backwards, it helps connect better with the person who's getting the product or service.
Right, because we pull out those little pieces of information. So if they need to get on the phone with Tom, what do they need to know before they're going to make that phone call? Well, they got to be comfortable with Tom. They got to understand what he's selling. They've got to know that they need that service. So there's all these different pieces they need before they're going to make that phone call or feel comfortable making that phone call. So we just have to answer all those questions along the line to just move them step by step closer to the goal.
Mm-hmm. And you discovered this really because you had to learn it trial by fire, like you said, on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you've now turned around and instituted it for other business owners, such as,
right,
the jarhead,
Yeah. What I started with when I had the remodeling company. By the way, I sold the company 3 years ago. So we were able to build it back up.
No kidding.
And because we were able to automate and systematize things, we were able to sell it.
You're able to sell something that you had somebody at your door with bankruptcy paperwork and getting sued, basically.
Yes. About, what was that? That was about 3-4 years later.
Okay.
Yeah. It took some time, but we were able to build it back up, got it back up to its
point. How would you sell a remodeling business? I mean, a remodeling business, isn't that really tied to the people? I mean, how were you able to establish value and credibility and enough that somebody's willing to pay you money for a company? Like, how did you do that? Because it's like I put on my sign, Daryl Handyman out front, and then I'm the guy running around and stuff.
Well, first of all, from the moment we started the company, our goal was always to sell it.
Okay.
From the very beginning, we knew we weren't doing that forever. Me especially, because I know construction. I've done it a lot, but I don't like it. This body is not built for construction.
Mine either.
Nobody is. No, but this definitely.
Hats off to anybody who is a construction worker or anybody out there that's doing manual labor like that. That is hard work.
It is.
I've done it myself a little bit, and it is grueling, hard work, and it's hard work. I just have to say hard.
Yeah. So from day one, we planned to sell. So even like the name, we didn't name it Kristianson Brothers Remodeling because we knew we wanted to sell it.
Okay.
And so we gave it a name that was just a name. It was a name that we could sell. That wasn't our identity. Was the company's identity. So even from that, everything was, how are we going to sell this someday? And then we just systematized everything. I mean, we had a binder of every process in the company, from starting up the computers in the morning to how do you sell a project to how do you produce a project. Everything was documented so that it didn't necessarily need us to run.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had people in the business, we had employees that were executing a lot of those pieces, so that we didn't need to be there to do it all the time. I mean, yes, we were still primarily overseeing and doing the sales and marketing, but the employees were pretty much producing the product, almost not completely without us, but a lot of it without us. So that's how we were able to, and we just had a great name in the community. That's what the buyers actually told me he was most attracted to, was that our name, our reputation. He knew he could just build on that. He could walk in and people would trust him because of our name.
Mm-hmm. So the credibility and the brand and the marketing you did was being able to do that. Mm-hmm. How big was the automation side of it that you put in place for? How big of a factor was that when he was able to see? Imagine you had, the emails and you had things going out to the list of buyers that you had over the years. I mean, you had a pretty substantial.
Yeah, we started. That's one mistake I see a lot of local brick and mortar, especially in construction. One mistake they make is they don't have a list. Their list is scraps of paper in a file cabinet if they kept it. Mm-hmm. They don't have a database of customers, prospects.
What's the database?
Customers, but definitely not prospects.
Yeah, what's the database? Yeah, what's the database?
Database could be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet with everybody's name and address on it, but something where you can go and find all your past clients, prospects, where they live, phone number, what they were interested in buying, why they didn't buy, all this, just data of some sort on these people so that you can continue to promote to them if they didn't buy. I mean, the long game is where the money is at, right? It's not the people like Tom's people that came and actually fell out immediately in the first 3 weeks of implementing that. That's kind of rare. I mean, people don't usually just come on a list and then instantly buy. The vast majority of people don't buy for months, years. I just had somebody purchase something from me. He originally talked to me 18 months ago. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't ready then, but he's still on my email list getting emails from me. And then one day something clicked and he called me and said, I'm ready now. If I hadn't been staying in touch, he would have forgotten about me, 12 months ago. He would have forgotten my name and whoever was in front of him would have got the work instead of me. So the long game is where it's really at.
So there's a couple gold nuggets there. First of all, you actually have to stay in one thing and stay focused on that one thing for length of more than a shiny penny would actually fly across your head, right?
Right.
And another thing is actually stay in touch with the people that once they contact you. Just because somebody contacted you today, didn't purchase what you have, doesn't mean they're not a buyer in the future.
That is correct. Yep, definitely. So yeah, having that database, that's valuable right there. Just having that list of people and keeping in touch with them. And it could be as simple as you don't have to get into all the fanciness of automated emails. It could be as simple as sitting down and sending an email out of your own account to somebody that you haven't heard from in 3 months that, was interested but never bought. Mm-hmm. It could be postcards. I loved postcards when we were doing remodeling. I sent out a lot of postcards to our past prospects. And that almost every time we sent out postcards, one person at least would kick loose and call you. Mm-hmm. And say, hey, I've been thinking about you.
And so you instituted all this after you had the financial downfall and everything.
Yeah.
Else, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
If you were to go back now with the same information to institute this from when you started back in 2000, how would that change your life?
Yeah, that would have been totally different because we would have sold at much higher prices. We would have had far more leads than we had. We would have closed more. All those when we started instituting this. When I first started, after the big downfall, our close rate was 1 in 10. For every 10 people we went out and met with, we sold one job. After about 18 months of tweaking and improving, we got it to 1 in 4. Wow. So for every 4 people we went and met with, we sold a job.
And the average job was how much for you guys?
By the time we sold, we were back up to around 110,000 a job. At the height in the glory days, we were about 125,000 was our average.
Okay.
And then in the low point, we dropped to about average job size of under 60. It just tanked. Mm-hmm. It was pretty bad. So not only did the number of jobs go down, but the size of each job went way down. Mm-hmm. Those double the size of your home additions just weren't happening anymore. And
yeah, they weren't getting the double size. They weren't supersizing their houses anymore, right?
No.
They were downsizing them, if anything.
Back in 4, 5, and 6, I doubled the size of many homes.
Yeah. You think if you would have had this training and the software you've instituted now for your company back then, do you think you would have been able to avoid having that guy come to your front door that day with the paperwork?
I would hope so. I think I would have been in a much better cash position, much better reserves, because I think we could have easily 3 or 4x'd the size of the company
Yeah.
If we had done that, which I would hope would translate to a better cash position in the down years. Because at the time we went into the down years, we were pretty highly leveraged, which is what killed us. If we'd been even zero, we would have been okay. But to be that leveraged was pretty traumatic. It's what almost killed us.
So if you could almost write a letter to your younger self when you first started out in entrepreneurship, that maybe it's just that little boy who's carrying buckets around.
Yeah.
What would you actually want to say to that person or educate them on, a piece of advice you would give them that's just possibly starting out in their business career?
Yeah. Debt is not the answer. That's my thing now, is I don't like to do anything with debt now. I want to be in a position of strength, and I don't want to have to go out, borrow a bunch of money to try to accomplish what I want to accomplish. So, I was kind of raised in a debt household, a debt community. In the town I grew up in, I consider a credit town. Nobody had money there. They all had really good credit. And that's what happened when the economy went away for us. A lot of our customers, they didn't have money. They had credit. So when all the credit went away, all our jobs went away. So I don't want to ever be in that position again where I have to rely on credit to make anything happen. And I don't want to be that leveraged ever again. So that's how I would answer that to my younger self. I mean, I remember I started out debt at the age of, as soon as I was old enough to sign a loan, I was in the bank borrowing money at 18. I can remember getting my first loan.
And what were you getting? And when you say debt, because a lot of times people refer to debt, there's good debt and there's bad debt. When you say debt, what are you specifically referring to?
Yeah, I line of credit. The big downfall for us is we had a house on spec that we built right before the fall, which was leveraged. I think it was 100% financed. So. Yeah. It was leveraged right to the hilt, and then the value of the house dropped in half overnight. So, I had to sell something for X, but I owed 2X.
So but the bank would just let you go on that, right?
No. And the bank owned the entire subdivision the house sat in. They had the loan on every single house in the subdivision.
Yeah.
And when one guy would fall, they'd go in and drop the price 30-40% and sell the house, but then expect me to sell the house at 100% so I could give them, when right across the street they just gave that house away. So it was just this whole ugly cycle of just the whole subdivision just kept going down.
Sounds like a toilet drain going down.
It was like a toilet drain. Yeah. So the first guy that sold, he didn't do too bad, even though he gave it away, but then that lowered it. And then the next guy was even lower and lower. And I was being stubborn until I was at the bottom. My stubborn nature did not serve me well there.
No.
Yeah.
So yep. Lessons from Neil Kristianson.
Yeah. So that would be my big thing, is I just would not be in debt anymore. I would have done that whole business with cash, and it was possible. We could have, but we were trying to grow faster than we probably had the wheels ready to grow. We were trying to propel ourselves and take this huge leap. And so therefore we just leveraged everything to finance that huge leap, but it just came right on you. Yeah.
And you figured out now at this point how to look into other people's businesses at that point and kind of pull out the hidden profit. So what is it that you would say is your specialty sauce, that now you're bringing out to the marketplace that is enabling people to really take their businesses, just like getting an elevator, you just want to go to the top and collect the checks on the way.
My thing is my ability to just think in steps, to think in process, to look at how to get from here to there to there to there. It's a challenge to me to just lay things out and see it kind of, how it all connects together. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we talked a little bit about the shiny squirrel syndrome, where they're just bing, 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 and they have all this great stuff, but it's all disconnected. It's all just floating around in space, and they don't have a plan to how all that coalesces and makes them money. And that's my gift, is that I can take all those pieces that float around and bring them together into a plan that actually makes money. Mm-hmm. That's what I like to do. I'm not, my gift is not the content creator. Like a lot of entrepreneurs are really good at creating content or coming up with ideas, and that's how they get all these things that float around. They have all these things because they're really good at that. I'm not as good at that. I'm just good at taking everything we have and putting it together.
Mm-hmm. So putting the puzzle together so you can complete it.
Yeah. It's the challenge, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially with people that are really good at sales, I would say, and people that are good at influencing and stuff like that. They're not as good as putting the last pieces of the puzzle. It's like underneath the couch somewhere, or like, the dog ate the last piece, where to go. So before you can complete that puzzle.
Yeah. I find that a lot of them, like you said, they're really good at selling, and then they'll be over here and they sell, and then they're over here and they sell, and they never get their sales lined up.
Yeah.
Where they have all this great stuff, but they're just aiming it all in the wrong direction a lot of times, or just, throw it against the wall, see what sticks. That didn't work, move on. That didn't work, move on. Or maybe it did work, but now I'm bored, move on. And what I like to do is take all that and automate it and systematize it so you don't get bored with it, because something else is running it now. You can continue to create all this cool new stuff, but now we've got like a bedrock base of things that are automated and just happening on autopilot, so that thing you created 5 months ago is still working for you.
Okay.
But you can go out and create a new thing too. You don't have to just keep selling the same thing over and over again. You can go out and do your shiny object, but this thing is still working.
So I can go bring you my mess that I've created from going out and making a bunch of sales and talking to a bunch of people. And then you help me systematize it on the backside and make more money. And I go continue to make messes and bring in the money. And then you make more money for me in the background.
Right.
That's what it should be.
That's what I like to do. Yeah. I like to take this whole disorganized mess and organize it.
Yeah.
Figure out, what's the gems in all of this? What's the process a prospect needs to go through to be a customer, or to be a really good customer?
That's what really brings in the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, if people aren't buying stuff, I can go out and sell all day long, but people don't have the systems in place to actually buy back end.
And sometimes it is just the delivery of it too, because the true entrepreneur personality just wants to go out and sell. And then there's this wake of mess behind them, right? Yeah. They just leave this trail of poopy diapers where they went out and sold, but they didn't really do a great job of delivering. That's kind of the typical entrepreneurial personality. And, if you leave this trail of poopy diapers, well, they're not buying again. They're not referring you. They're not telling their friends. That's a one and done sale. And then you're constantly out looking for the next sale. But if we can take that trail and turn it into, everybody having a good experience, getting what they were promised, following up with them, giving them a future promotions, then you turn that trail into sales in the future and into a real base of customers, as opposed to these one and done sales.
So no more one and dones, guys. You heard it right here from Neil Kristianson.
No more one and done.
If somebody's interested in getting more in touch with you, what website should they go to, or is the best way to contact you? And I know you've got some cool stuff that to share with people.
Yeah. So my website is emailsplat.com, SPLAT, like throw it against the wall, splat. Emailsplat.com. And if they're curious about this whole automation thing and, just getting into automation a little bit more, I've got a quiz on my website they can take at emailsplat.com/quiz. They can find this quiz that'll help them get started with, doing what they have currently and what they could do with it. So
help them figure out where the hidden profits are in their own businesses.
Exactly.
All right. Now I appreciate you coming out today. And
thanks,
I look forward to taking the quiz myself.
Thank you.
See you, Neil.